Hello, everybody. Welcome to our channel. In this first episode, we are going to discuss the first law out of the 48 Laws of Power, the book. And the first law is never outshine your master. So, I'm here with my sister, Angeliki. Angeliki, what is the first law?
So, the first law says, always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please and impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite, inspire fear and insecurity. Make your masters appear more brilliant than they are, and you will attain the heights of power.
Cool. So, what does the history tell us?
So the book gives two historical examples. The first one is apparently from France. We have Nicolas Fouquet, who was a finance minister during the reign of Louis XIV. Nicolas Fouquet started to feeling a little bit insecure that he's falling out of favor. So what did he do? He decided to organize a huge party.
So huge.
So huge, really huge party. And he invited all of the most famous people back then as an attempt to really regain the favor of the king and, to be honest, to show off a little bit. But obviously this party didn't have the outcome he wanted it to have because...
While the party was a huge success, what happened is that Nicolas Fouquet got actually arrested and he was accused that he was stealing from the treasury. Now, he was actually accused falsely because the king was asking him to go and steal the money. So Nicolas went and did it without even thinking the consequences of that. And in Greece, we have a specific phrase saying that, if someone tells you to go and jump from the balcony, will you go and do it?
But why did the king do this? Why he accused him, Nicolas Fouquet, about that?
So the king was jealous because the party was such a big success and he could really tell that Nicolas, he had a lot of qualities that maybe... he was lacking and a lot of amazing network. So it was a huge effort from Nicolas that actually didn't work in the way he wanted. So he kind of outshined his master in this case.
Exactly. So the second example is in Italy, around 160s. We have the famous astronomer Galileo, who wants to carry on with his discoveries. However, he had money issues. He had to find patrons.
Always money issues.
Yes, always a problem. He had to find patrons to carry on with his discovery. And suddenly, he discovered something really important. He discovered Jupiter's moons.
How Galileo and these kind of scientists used to work is that they had to find some patrons to kind of fund their scientific experiments and discoveries. And then after the discovery or whatever they found or created was done, they were giving away parts of the tools or the things they discovered.
In exchange of money.
Bravo, in exchange of money so that he can keep funding their research. Now, what did Galileo do in this case?
He was really clever because at the same time, another really important family in Italy was rising in power. The family was the really famous family of Medicis. So instead of just splitting his discoveries into parts and giving it away to patrons, with the reason that probably no one would help him again, he actually dedicated the whole discovery to the Medici family.
So he created this emblem where it was literally on their clothes and it was like the Jupiter with the different stars around it. And then he associated this discovery with the family. So it was a very clever thing to do because then the family just accepted him as the main scientist and he got a full-time job.
And what did he do differently compared to Nicolas Fouquet?
Well, instead of him trying to take ownership of all of this amazing discovery he did and just say, thanks for the money, this is mine, this is amazing, I did it, he actually really gave it away to the family of the Medicis. So he kind of handed away the discovery, but he got everything he wanted, right? So he didn't really care about the fame per se, but all the funding and the money he could get. Then he got students around him so he can start doing much more work that he liked. So I guess it was a win-win.
Yep, definitely.
What can we learn from these laws, and how have you seen these being applied in your day-to-day life?
In my profession, like, there's always like an age gap between, like, the young teachers and the older teachers in a way. And it's always interesting because young teachers, have learned to teach in a specific method, meaning using technology and all the new resources that we have online. Whereas the old teachers have, like, the more traditional way of teaching. It's really interesting that in some cases, they always comment on that, and sometimes they're gonna be a little bit more not feeling a little bit more threatened, I must say, of like the young generation of teacher, where actually we do things differently.
Yeah, it's just sometimes people are not open to feedback, or it's not easy for you to say the feedback to someone who has much more power than you
and more experience.
Yeah, so another example is like from technology. When you enter a company, there is a specific culture. You're always before enter a company, you actually have a cultural interview to see if you fit with the cultural values of this specific company.
And what kind of questions do they ask?
Yeah, like if depending on the company, they kind of support different things. But one of the things is customer. I love the customer first, right? The other thing is teamwork. The other thing is innovation, creativity, all of these things. And sometimes you may think you fit and you go in and you find someone else to what you were expecting to have. And when you are in this new position, you want to show all of this creativity and
you're really eager to
way of doing things, even though technology is not the issue, because we are in a technological company and you have to innovate and follow the technology. The problem happens or starts when different managerial styles come to play. And some of them are very conservative and they want really the control over people, versus some more open styles where they give power to the people and try to grow the people around them. So I've seen this being a problem and have clashed in the past and ended up with people leaving.
Like you have an interview and you're interviewed by the manager of your team. It's really interesting if the manager says to you, like, this is my managerial style. I like this and that and that, and I don't like this and that and that. And it's technically on you if you want to just carry on or not. So I think it's really important to be, as manager, to be as open and as honest as possible.
Something that I learned recently from an interview actually was that, you always check the company if you like the company, you always check if the role fits you, but you never, or very rarely, you actually try to see if your manager is the managerial style you would like to have. So actually it's this third thing in place that you have to start thinking more.
The last bit that he says about the time that something is going to happen and how you need to take advantage of time. So he says that technically, if you're like in a really high position, this doesn't mean that you are always going to stay in this high position. Sometimes people fail, right, from this position. And this is when you need actually to be clever, smart, and ready and cunning, and actually take advantage of that. So while your manager is like, is rising and he's doing really well, you have actually to be a little bit behind to have a step.
Follow back and learn.
And learn. And never outshine him, but flatter him in a really indirect way, help him as much as you can, ask him for advice and feedback, and he's gonna appreciate it very much. But when, probably he's a little bit tired, or he wants to just make a new step and he wants just change, he's starting falling, right? And this is when you need to take advantage of your abilities, of your values, of your experience, and just do the step forward. So technically it's the time as well.
Yeah, one of the things that you said that I liked was the fact that actually you have to really ask your manager for help, even if you don't need it. As in, for sure, this person who is in a higher position of power from you, they have much more experience that you can get and learn from. So even if technically, for example, in my field, my role is very technical. If, for example, my manager technically cannot support me because they have never done the same job before, they haven't been hands-on on the keyboard, for example, so they don't know how to solve the problems I am solving, surely they can direct me in other things like leadership, like growing different kinds of initiatives that I may be interested in. So on the whole managerial leadership style. Another thing that you can understand from this law is never take for granted your position where you are in at the moment. So because you struggle to get where you are, you put a lot of effort and attention and, get all of these being known that you're good at something and you really spend time on this, and you can lose it so quickly if you do the wrong moves. So never take anything for granted, and never take for granted that your manager really appreciates you and loves you, right? So this is kind of a relationship that you have to consistently build and support.
Always be respectful of the person who is really quiet during meetings. And he doesn't talk much, but he actually listens. And I think this is the most important part. When you're not that experienced, but your manager is so good and he's so established, just go back, relax, and just listen and take as much as you can. And your moment is gonna come eventually at some point. So now always take advantage of the people who are the most quiet during meetings.
Yeah, I have written it here specifically, hold your horses, woman.
Exactly.
Wait for the moment. Just to summarize the 4 key points, I guess. The first is don't take anything for granted, right? So remember, anything can just disappear. Something we didn't really chat is, your manager may have their own opinions and new ideas come through discussions with him or her. So when you present these ideas to other people, just make sure you present in a way that your manager is aligned with, and never forget to mention his name or her name, because they really helped on the idea and the creation of the idea and also on the implementation probably. So it's really important to give them credit so that no one feels left out. Ask for help and advice from your boss because you have so much to learn. This person is not there randomly. So just take from them anything that you can in a nice way, of course.
And if you think he's randomly there, just find another job.
Yes, this means something bad is happening in the culture of this company.
The history, because you can see that throughout the time the same things are happening to the same people and we never learn. So I think history is actually a lesson for sure.